right, we are making baked eggplant parm. I already got my baking sheets out, and I've got racks on here. This one I put a little parchment paper under it, just makes cleanup easier. So I'm coating these with olive oil so that once I put the panko on the eggplant slices, it won't stick to the rack. And I've got 2 eggplants to bake, so I'm gonna do 2 baking sheets. But definitely be generous with the olive oil so there's no sticking. I've got my 2 eggplants. I always wash them. You probably shouldn't use soap and water, but I do put a little bit of soap on my hands and just kind of go like this over them to rinse them and get off anything that was on there from the store. So I've already done that. And now I'm going to slice them into 1/2-inch slices. So I usually cut off the ends or the tops first. Okay. So you just want to make sure they're a consistent thickness so they bake evenly. Eggplant too. It's kind of fun to see through the light. I like baked eggplant the best, mainly because it doesn't get slimy. Eggplant can get very slimy easily, but when you bake it, it's less likely that that happens. Okay, we're gonna combine panko, and this recipe calls for Parmesan. Parmesan is pretty salty to me, so I'm gonna use mozzarella instead, and then an Italian seasoning. So just to kind of go over the ingredients, we're gonna use 1.5 cups panko breadcrumbs. You can find so many different varieties at the store. We're gonna start with the traditional, and then I've got a whole wheat because I don't have a lot in this box. And then a cup of, they recommend freshly grated Parmesan divided. Once again, Parmesan's pretty salty to me, so we're gonna use mozzarella instead. And then 2 teaspoons Italian seasoning, kosher salt, black pepper, and that's just for taste. The 2 medium eggplants, which we already sliced into 1/2-inch thick rounds. 3 large eggs, which I have set out earlier so that they're getting to room temperature. We're gonna do 4 cups of marinara. This dish is similar to like almost an eggplant lasagna. So it's going to be layered in a dish once we get the eggplant dredged in the panko, baked, and then we can assemble it. And then 2 cups shredded mozzarella, and then a 1/3 cup sliced basil. All right, so we are going to combine 1.5 cups panko breadcrumbs. You want to combine it into a shallow dish for dredging. Just makes it easier to get your hands in and out of it, out of the dish. Okay, so there's a cup. We might have enough in this package actually. And a little bit more is not gonna harm anything. Oh yeah, we're good. So 1.5 the panko. Do some mozzarella in there. Do a cup of that. Okay. And then 2 teaspoons Italian seasoning. That one wasn't quite full, so I'm gonna add just a little bit. Okay. We're gonna add just a little bit of salt and pepper. Let's go this way. Mix it up. It's almost like I'm folding it just to get the panko, the cheese, and salt, pepper, and Italian seasoning all blended well, mixed well. So this calls for 3 eggs. Ooh, on the end, usually it's like right in the middle. They have a harder shell. All right, so there's our 3 eggs. All right, then I'm gonna get 2 tablespoons of water. There's 1 and 2. I don't know how other people do it, but I like to pierce the yolks and then start whisking. And I'm gonna add a little salt and pepper to this mixture. On the salt. Okay. Whisk some more. Okay, so now we're going to, I like using tongs. I may end up just using my fingers, but I'll at least get my tongs out because I have a tendency to use those a lot. Okay. So we're just gonna start dunking the eggplant into the egg wash, and then we're gonna dredge it. I think I will use tongs over here. That way I don't end up with panko stuck to my fingers. Get it all on the side. Of course, you know, the mozzarella cheese is not gonna stick too well. Parmesan would have been better, but like I said, it's just saltier, so. And then you'll place them on the baking sheet that we've already prepped. And kind of let a little excess egg run off so we don't end up with a lot of baked egg on our eggplant slices. I've made baked eggplant many times, but I'm excited to do it this way in more of, like I said, like a almost like an eggplant lasagna dish, but minus the noodles. It's going to be layers of panko crusted eggplant with marinara and cheese. Another thing I've learned since I've made baked eggplant so much is that in order to grab the baking sheet from the counter without tilting it, I put pretty fluffy oven mitts underneath here, so then it's easier to grab it and think, you know, I don't have to tilt the sheet to pick it up. All right, so I'm going to melt a little bit of butter to drizzle it over the tops of the eggplant slices. That way it'll crisp them up even more once they're baked, and give it a little bit of a, you know, buttery flavor. Usually I melted enough so that the heat from the melted butter will melt the rest of it. Okay, now we're just gonna drizzle. Here at our fish sizzle. Mm-hmm. Very nice. Once again, that'll just crisp up that panko even more and add just a little bit of a buttery flavor to our eggplant. Moving on. You got to get a good grip since you've got the rack on top of a slick baking sheet, so hold both so you don't accidentally dump your eggplant on the floor. All right, and we're golden. Nicely toasted. I should have put these in separate ovens since we actually have two ovens, because this one was on top closer to the burner, but this one turned out beautiful. This will just be a little crispier. And I'm gonna do the slices that are well done towards the bottom, because basically we're just gonna warm up the marinara and the cheese and toast the cheese on top. So since these are more well done, I'm gonna put those in the bottom. So I'm gonna go ahead, and at this point we're gonna do the layers. I'm not gonna measure because I don't usually measure when I cook. Baking you have to. So I'm just gonna put a layer of marinara. Spread it out, almost like you're making a pizza pie. And then I'm gonna add the first layer of eggplant. Okay. More marinara. Might need a little more than that. You want to use 4 cups of marinara anyway, so we'll be generous with it. Okay, now we're gonna add some mozzarella. Just some basil. I'm just using dried. You can use fresh. I don't use basil quick enough to buy the fresh, and I don't like it to go to waste, so I usually just use dried. Yeah. Oh, let's use the tongs. Okay. Just gonna kind of put it over the eggplant that's exposed. We don't really want it to cook anymore. I'm gonna add some dollops of ricotta. I like ricotta because it, once again, is not a salty cheese. That adds a nice creaminess to this dish. Yeah. Put a little bit more of that. Finish it off with a little more basil. Okay. Now we're just gonna throw it in the oven. Just basically long enough to melt the cheese and warm it all up again. So about 10-15 minutes. Alright, it's done. The cheese is melted, it's all warmed up. So just let it rest for a little while. And we'll plate it up. Baked eggplant parmesan. But we did it with mozzarella. I'm gonna scoot that over so it's part of this section. And actually, I think I'm gonna use a spoon. I need a big spoon. Let's see if this one will be big enough to get all the, ooh yeah, goodness. Oh yeah, look at that cheese. Oh, that looks delicious. Get a little more of the sauce. Oh yeah. And you can put it on a bed of pasta. Look at that. Going for the, actually, this might work okay. Just kind of balance it. There we go. Beautiful. Oh yeah. That looks so good. Get a little more of the sauce. Oh yeah. Okay, and we're ready. Ready to eat. Baked eggplant parmesan, but with the mozzarella.